welcome back to my garden. Well, we'll be heading out in a sec. This is week 2 of the garden tours. It is June 6th, 2021. There's some pretty good changes in the yard this time around from last time. The heat and the rain and all that mixed together really put a jump on everything. Well, the tulips are all gone because they did not survive the heat. But there's two new plants out in the front yard. Some stuff has been rearranged. There's stuff popping up in the backyard. There's a cat who wants to be a participant. Hold on. Zach, come here. Come here. Hi, there's Zach. Just so you hear who's meowing. But yeah, so without further ado, oh my. It's really windy out there. I was already out there. I had to come back inside to film this intro. But yeah, without much further ado, let's get out there and see what's growing. So I apologize in advance if it's very windy. Living in Saskatchewan, there's a lot of wind. So anyways, this week, a little bit different. The tulips are all spent. We had some pretty warm days, honestly, and the blooms kind of fizzled out, which I expected because they do better when it's chilly out. However, this huchera that I bought last week is doing so well. I'm so impressed with it for it being a new transplant. Usually with like first year plants, I don't expect too much from them as far as growth and flowers, because transplant shock really can throw them. But if you look in here, there is a whole bunch of new leaves. The lilies very much enjoyed the heat. They're nice and bushy looking. No signs of new bulb or new blooms, but that's okay. Then, remember the hosta that I was worried about? I'm not so worried anymore. This has come in so well. I was really concerned, but with the heat this past week, it's really started to flush out. And like, just look at these leaves. Look at them. They're so beautiful. And so then, come across here to the dahlias. They didn't mind the heat too much. I am debating whether or not I want to stake them, because it does get kind of windy through here. And they are dinner plate dahlias, so the blooms on them get to be like this big around. So they'll get very top heavy, so if I stake them now, I could possibly be saving myself some headache in the future. And then yeah, just another shot of the tulips. And I mean, I really love tulip leaves even without the blooms on them. I leave the leaves to expire on their own. I've done reading, and there's been different opinions on whether or not you should leave them. But the best thing that I have read thus far is by leaving the leaves throughout the season, it allows the bulbs to absorb nutrients, thus protecting them through the winter and making them so that they come back in all their glory again the following season. So then over here, got more lilies. However, these lilies have a pest. These ones do, but the ones over here do not. And I don't know what is going on. However, it's not slugs, because I thought it was slugs, because this is not slug damage. Honestly, I thought it was leafcutter bees, but that's just because we have a project with leafcutter bees that we're doing in the backyard that's going to be set up probably this week sometime. But if you look, I don't know what it is. It might be earwigs because it's been really wet and then really hot. I thought it might be leafcutter ants, but I don't see any ants. I really don't know. But there's a lot of these little chew marks. So if anybody has any ideas, please let me know. And please let me know whether I should be treating for whatever is eating my lilies. Then, behind these lilies, we have the other hosta that is coming in so beautifully. And my sunflowers are up. I'm so excited. They're gonna be beautiful. I'm super thrilled that they came up. Again, was worried because I planted them and it got super wet. The new addition to the front yard today, because I cannot be stopped, are my clematis. They haven't been watered in yet, so they're looking a little sad. Everything's gonna get watered tonight when it cools off a little bit. But this is a red clematis, and this one is a white one. Kind of picked to match the general color scheme of my house. Also because, as a friend of mine mentioned, they're not commonly found clematis colors. Like the purples, pinks, and blues are usually what you see. So I'm hoping that these two come in and that they just take off and fill up all here. And then this huchera, no bloom stalks on it yet. However, the leaves and the colors of the leaves on this plant. This is a second-year plant. I bought it last year and transplanted it. It's just stunning. I love it. And again, it's something is chewing on it, but I don't know what it is. So, moving along, this area looks a little bit different. The peony that I had planted here pretty much rotted out. I then found out that peonies don't do well in containers, so we're gonna be changing this area a little bit. Not exactly sure what we're gonna do with it, but something will happen, even if it's just grass again this year. The two calla lily pots that were here got moved up onto the porch, and you'll see those in just a sec. So we will take one nice shot. It's a lot more green this week than it was last week, but it's coming. There'll be color. I have some bedding plants that I'm going to be putting in that are just annuals, kind of as a ground cover. As you'll notice, I don't have mulch in my front bed. There will be mulch in the fall because the lily bulbs and the tulip bulbs and the clematis do really well being mulched up over the winter time to protect them. And then, yeah, that's really all there is to this right now. But with the heat and how lovely it's been, everything's very green, very lush, doing very well, putting out new growth, and I'm very excited. So then we'll come up, get a nice shot here of the front porch. My sweet potato vines. Not super happy because, again, it's been very hot and dry and windy. However, they are growing. There's new growth on all of them, and I'm very excited because that means we're just closer to having these just spill and be glorious. Then, this one makes me super happy because I watered this on Friday night, and since Friday night, I have nasturtiums popping up. I have calla lilies here popping up that I didn't see on Friday night, and I'm very, very excited about. And this canna, it has not flowered yet, and it is already the most glorious thing I think I've seen in a very long time. It has brand new leaves coming up. This one is brand new. This one just unfurled. These ones are unfurling. This is a whole new stalk. There's more unfurling here. And it's getting to the point where it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And then there's going to be that bloom. And I cannot wait to see how beautiful it's going to be. Then we've changed things up over here as well. The urns are still the same. These are the calla lilies that were down there. They're now up here. Makes it just a little bit easier without having that basket with the peony in it. It's quite windy underneath those stairs, so I didn't want those containers to get knocked over, so I moved them up here just for a little bit of protection. So we'll go through these pots. So these are snapdragons. We bought these ones last week and planted them in this container. These ones were just transplanted, so they're a little bit sad. They need to be watered. That's fine. It's no big deal. Same as with the snaps and with these lilies. Oh, these cannas have started to push flowers out. There's pink ones right in here. There's another one right down in there. And can you just like appreciate these leaves? They're so beautiful, but I am a sucker for variegation in leaves. So that's why I'm particular to these. The erns are doing really well. The colocasias, they're both putting out new flowers, or leaves, as you can see. The coleus have grown. The alyssums, the flowers are spent. Again, that's because it's been so warm. The dirt is moist. It's been hot and dry and very difficult. So when it gets hot and dry, flowers tend to just die off and take that energy that they would be using to produce a bloom, put it in to making sure they can survive the heat. This is empty, which is fine. I plan to put a sunflower seed, some pole beans, and some squash plants in here. I think I talked about this the last time with the Three Sisters method. I've since been informed that this can be modeled off of the Three Sisters method, but it is not the Three Sisters method, so I should probably come up with a different name for it, which is totally fine. I just don't know what I'm going to call it other than an experiment. Because if it works, I could possibly have a 6-foot sunflower hanging out on my porch, which would be pretty cool, in my opinion, but I'm partial to sunflowers. So, this urn, I have to deadhead this leaf. However, this one just unfurled today. It hasn't colored up yet, but it's definitely working on it, as you can tell. These coleus, again, are just enjoying their life right now. And again, the alyssum will need to be tidied up. This is the other calla. This one I'm very excited about because look at that. Look at how beautiful these are. So yeah, that's the front. And now we'll head off to the back. All right, now this is where there's been a lot of change. A lot. Been very busy this past week getting stuff out here. As you can see, we have Pepper Alley. So we've got bell peppers and pepperoncinis. These are the Apache. They got sunburnt. I'm trying to stay on top of it. I really am. These ones are poblanos. These ones I did not start. We bought them from a greenhouse in Lumsden. Pepperoncinis. What else do I have in here? I've got a Serrano, Hungarian hot wax. This is a sweet banana. And this one is an Anaheim. Peppers like to hold hands, so that's why I've got 2 or 3 in this case, but at least 2 in each pot. I've been told that they like that, so we'll see if that increases the production this year. Then I've got, this is temporary as we're getting bedding plants and whatnot sorted and moved around and trying to manage with this heat. So these pansy baskets are going to be hung up in the canopies, and they are for our leafcutter bees. So leafcutter bees really enjoy pansies and rose hips. However, I do not have space in my yard for a rose without getting seriously maimed, so I chose not to do a rose and to do pansy baskets. And then I've got petunias there and there that are going to be going out in the front yard kind of as ground cover. In here I have my cucumber starts. I have mint that has to go in a container. I've got my strawberries that are going in baskets next week. I believe there's 3 pepper plants in here as well as some snapdragons. This is the last that I have to plant. This, like, 2 shelves and those 2 pots. Then I'm done. Well, I say I'm done, but everybody who knows me is going to be like, no, you're very much not done. So then we come down here and we have the beans. Now this is going to be organized nicer when these 2 shelves are taken care of. I have 5 different kinds of bush beans in these two pots. This calendula, I don't know. I tried to save it. It's not real happy. It may end up being part of the compost pile. So the different kinds, I have green beans, yellow beans that have black seeds, burgundy, tongue of fire, and dragon's tongue. So these pots have 4 in them. The bigger ones have 4 seeds in them, and these ones have 2 seeds in them. I may end up thinning them out depending on how it goes. And then you can see here, my runner beans have popped up, and they have grown since yesterday. This one, I'm not sure about the yellow leaves. We'll see what happens with the other ones there. They've popped up. I'm very excited that they have popped up. Oh, hey, look. These ones are popping up too. I planted these not that long ago. Ooh, that's exciting. Sorry, distracted. So these ones, the idea will be that they climb up the shelf and make a little bit of a canopy that kind of encases the bush bean containers. I think it's going to look really pretty. I'm hoping it looks really pretty. If it doesn't, then it was an experiment and we know for next year. In this bag, yesterday we went and we filled up so many fabric bags. So there's a lot of stuff that has been added. Is my only surviving broccoli. I don't know if this is going to make a head. I don't know if this is going to grow. It's kind of struggled. I forgot I had it. It's been chewed on. We'll see what happens. Again, if it doesn't grow, that's okay, because I did not realize I had this plant. If we make a quick turn here, I've got Bosque Blue Bumblebee tomatoes that are much happier now that it's a little bit cooler out. So these ones will stay in this pot. This pot is not going to stay here because I have knocked this trellis over more times than I can count. And I get hurt every time it happens, and the tomatoes get hurt every time it happens, so I'd like to stop doing that. I just need to find a spot to put it. And then we have this. This is a Bergmansia, or also known as an angel trumpet. This thing gets huge, and I am afraid of it. Every part of this plant is poisonous. The leaves are poisonous, the saps are poisonous, the roots are poisonous, the stalk is poisonous. I did not purchase this plant. My dear darling husband-to-be purchased this plant, and I did not have the heart to be like, yo, maybe I don't want to grow this because it's dangerous, because he's into, it gets him into gardening, and that makes me happy. So I was like, you know what, we'll just try. And you can overwinter these. It's a bit of a process, so I'm not sure if we're going to overwinter it or not. Depends on how big it gets too, because from what I've read in the videos that I've watched, it can hit 6 feet in a year, and that is really big. That's taller than I am. See, my tomatoes just, this trellis, I swear, I have to fix it. Anyhow, so we're going to move on to the beds now. The beds, I believe at this point, are completely planted, but not everything is up. So there may have to be some re-sowing that's done. The hanging baskets are not planted. Only one of them is planted, and that's this one right here with the Boothie's Blonde cucumbers. I'm having a really difficult time maintaining the moisture levels in the soil in these baskets. So I had given it some thought and had discussions with friends about what to do to maintain the moisture in these baskets, and there was a lot of suggestions. Someone suggested diapers, which would be a really good idea if the pots weren't already filled with dirt. Then I thought, hey, maybe shower caps would work, but shower caps are not big enough. So I ordered crock pot liners, which are heavy duty and durable, and they get here on Thursday. So that's going to be my experiment on Thursday evening for figuring out how to make it so that it still looks aesthetically pleasing, but I can have the crock pot liners in and make it so that the moisture stays in these baskets, because it's hot here and it's dry here, and my backyard's kind of like a wind tunnel, so it kind of gets to the point where it's almost a losing battle, and I would like to not lose this battle, because then I would have no cucumbers and I'd be very sad. So into the north bed here, I don't have it memorized yet, but I do know that it goes beets, carrots, radish, beets, carrot, radish, beets, carrots, radish, beets, carrots. And then there's 2 types of corn planted here. So there's blue Hopi corn, which is corn that is mostly used for tortillas, and it's blue. So that's going to be really cool. Then there's peaches and cream corn there. There's 2 okra plants there that are not up yet. One of them is almost up. I found it yesterday when I was going to possibly reseed. So I'm just hoping that the other one pops up, because that would be really good. If not, just reseed it. Okra loves hot and dry, and that's what Saskatchewan's real good for. You'll also notice that I've got cabbage plants over here. These were extras starts that I had. These 2 squares were empty. I'm fairly certain that I have overplanted those 3 areas for the size that cabbage gets. If they grow, they grow. If they don't, they were extras, and I'll just be happy if even they have a little head on them. So then we're coming into here, and you'll notice I have my tomato trellises up. So this is just a nylon string. I believe it's rated to 15 pounds. And the way that I'm trellising my tomatoes this year is, as they grow, you just wrap them ever so gently around the nylon so that they're supported as they're growing and get laden with fruit. I also am trimming them down to a main leader so that they can focus on growth in their height, and then they can also focus on fruit production more so than foliage production, because you cannot eat tomato leaves because they're deadly. They're a nightshade plant. They're not good for you. I don't have my tomatoes memorized yet. I have a list in the garage. I have a sign on this one. This one is Midnight Snack. They turn purple on top and green on the bottom. This is a great white. I only remember that because I planted it yesterday. This is a lemon blush. It's very sad looking. It is growing though. That one is a green zebra. This one is the Ukrainian purple. I don't remember what this back row is. I do know that the one that's kind of flopped over right there is a cherry Roma. And then, this is the best part. I did not expect these to come up, actually, because it had been so wet and then so hot. But the peas are breaking ground. They're coming up. I believe, I'm not sure if you can see the one over there. It's right, oh, where is it? Right there. They're coming up. You can see the radish are coming up too. I'm very excited. Like I said, I didn't think that the peas would come up because it had gotten so hot after being so wet. Oh, the pine berry baskets. They have not quite jumped up yet. I'm not sure. You can see that there is growth as I bust the dead leaves off, but there is growth coming. These may end up, I'm not sure. I'll give them to next weekend. If there's nothing really happening, I may end up getting starts and putting starts all in these baskets. And then the strawberry planter hangers will be hung off the corners so that the strawberries are right there, because the pine berries need strawberries in order to be fertilized and bear fruit. So now take a look at the south bed here. So this is all pretty much all planted now, I believe. This is all different kinds of radish. As you can see, they're doing quite well here as I weed my beds. This 4 of these squares are kale, so there's 2 kale plants in these. There's lettuce there. I believe there's radish and carrots there. The eggplants are in. They're a little bit unhappy. They do need to get acquainted with their stakes. I planted them yesterday and watered them in, and then again it was really warm today, and they're not particularly happy, but they're okay. This is a pumpkin plant. This was going to have a pumpkin in it, but I accidentally terminated the plant that was going to go there. So now it's marigolds, which is fine. Marigolds will attract pollinators, which will help pollinate this whole row. That's where my garden knife went. Whoopsies. Probably shouldn't have left that out there, but that's fine. The celery is doing really well. The pepper plants, if you remember before, I just had 4 pepper plants in here. It kind of was getting to the point of like I was running out of places to put things that I had started. So I'm trying 2 peppers in some of these areas, and we'll see how that goes. They will eventually need cages and support, which I have, and if I see that they are starting to flop over and not stand up on their own, I will put them into cages, because tomato cages do better for peppers than they do for tomatoes. Speaking of tomatoes, I have a lot of them. They're unhappy right now because they have been transplanted and moved around, but they are going to be living in fabric bags. We're going to see how it goes. Again, they look very, very sad, but I have not watered them. They need a little bit of fertilizer. They stayed in their cups way too long because I didn't know what I was going to do, but they will be okay. The boss blue bumblebees looked like this when I put them in the basket at first as well. And they're finally starting to stand up properly and get growing, which is the whole point and what we're kind of after. The nasturtiums in these baskets are not up yet. Again, having a really hard time maintaining moisture in these. So depending on how many crock pot liners I have left, these might get wrapped as well, because they're just having a hard time, which it's all a learning experience, so I'm not too upset about it. I would really hope that the nasturtiums do bloom because they're gorgeous. And there is, I believe I mentioned, there's 4 different varieties in these baskets, so I think they'll be really beautiful when they do sprout and start trailing down. Sorry. And it'll just look really nice. So hopefully they pop up, because the ones out front popped up, so they should be happening sometime soon here. The potatoes, these 2 baskets are doing really well. I have to put some more dirt in them. You can see, hopefully you can see, it's not too dark. There's little hairs all along here, so I believe that these ones are indeterminate, which means I can hill them and get a lot of potatoes. You see all the fuzzy, I don't know if it'll focus enough on it, but you can see on the stems those little hairs. Those can get buried and make more potatoes. So that's probably another project for this weekend. Another sad looking tomato, but we'll get there. They'll be all right. They'll bounce back. I have faith. This one, I had potatoes in it. They weren't doing anything, so I grabbed some that had sprouted inside and put them in there yesterday. So there's nothing happening in here yet. More tomatoes that are kind of sad. Squash plants. So I believe that is zucchini. That's not, well, it's a squash, but that's zucchini. That's my Casper pumpkin. So that's my white pumpkin that I'm really excited about. Then I've got spaghetti squash, a sugar baby pumpkin, a butternut squash, and a sugar baby watermelon. So we'll see how those go. Last year I had issue with powdery mildew. Hopefully this year, with having them on the edge here, having them trail over, keeping them to one main leader is going to help. And then the parsnips are starting to come up, which I'm excited about because I've never grown parsnips and I've heard they're kind of difficult. Then the onions have very much enjoyed the wet and then the heat. I planted these probably 2 weeks after these ones, and they've already got green tops coming up, which I'm super excited about. Also, more peas. More peas! Very excited. These ones are starting to get tall enough that they can probably get acquainted with the chicken wire. And then what else do I have over here? my mess of hoses, which is getting adjusted, just having a little bit of a difficult time coming to an agreement on some things, but that's all right. The endive is coming back gloriously. I was really concerned that with the heat and the wet and the transplant that they weren't going to come back, but they have been. They're doing quite well, honestly. I'm very, very happy. And I just ripped out a staple here. So these are carrots and lettuces, and then the kales are down there. But yeah, more peas there too. Very, very excited. So this, oh no, I'm gonna have to move away. But yeah, so this week is a little bit different than last week. There's more to show, which is always exciting. Oh, my purple basils. I bought purple basils and I paired them with some of my tomatoes because I've been told that they're a good companion plant. So that's exciting. But yeah, I mean, still a little bit overwhelmed because a lot of this is still very much in the beginning phases where it needs to have a little bit more attention than what I would like. Not saying that I don't like giving my garden attention, because I do. I love being out here. There's just a lot of nitpicky things right now with things being transplanted, starting seeds, making sure the schedule's maintained, because I've got to succession plant the carrots and the beets and the radish every 10 days. But it's right there. The jump is about to happen. And that's exciting, because it's going to be so lush and beautiful and bountiful in here before I know it. And these videos will get longer and longer because I'll have more and more things to show you as plants start to fruit, as flowers start to set, as herbs start to pop up. Because that's the next thing, is once these tomatoes here get big enough, I will be underplanting them with herbs. My poor basil here is a little bit sad. They need a drink, but that's for this evening when it cools off just a little bit more and they can actually absorb it. Also, look at this. Look at this beautiful thing. I started this one from seed. I'm very excited. I was afraid I was going to lose it because I lost a whole bunch of my brassicas to flea beetles, but it seems like the flea beetles have lost the war to the heat, which is nice. Oh, and the spinach. I didn't mention this. The spinach has come up, and I thought it was a weed, so I pulled like a bunch of it out of here, so I might have to do a little bit of resowing, but that's alright. It's part and parcel of gardening. And I've never grown spinach before, so I didn't know what the starts look like, but I suppose I could have Googled that. Oh well. But yeah, that's where we're at this week. It is going to be glorious in here. And yes, I know that my tomato trellises here bump into a couple of my baskets, so we may end up with some cucumbers trailing down some tomato trellises. And right now that's a problem for future Jessica, but it's going to be glorious anyways, and I'm very excited. So thank you guys for hanging out and taking a stroll with me around this tiny little piece of paradise. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, whatever you want to do so that you can follow along in this adventure. I really appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you next time.